Well, thank you all for attending this lecture this afternoon. My name is Mike Piersa. I'm a historian at the National Museum of Industrial History in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. We're located inside the former Bethlehem Steel Mill in that town. I have three colleagues from literally across the country here. Kyle from Iowa, Alex from Massachusetts, and Phil from New York. And today we're going to be talking about waterworks steam engines, specifically the 4 examples in the United States that are actually up and running. There's only a handful of these engines that exist. Many of them has been static displays for many years. But in the past, literally, I think it's only past 1 year, 3 of them have come back to life. You're going to hear their stories today. And you're also going to be hearing the story about the one engine that's been quietly running for 5 days a year since, what year, Kyle? 1973. So we're going to begin the presentation with Kyle Walnick. He's a volunteer at the Midwest Old Threshers, which is a giant steam show in Mount Pleasant, Iowa. He's also a volunteer at the Prairie Land Heritage Museum, currently works for a military museum in Illinois, and is looking to expand his role in public history. So he volunteers at the Powerhouse at Old Threshers and has a very hands-on knowledge of these engines. So we're going to begin the talk with him telling about the water pumping engine that they have at Old Threshers.
So first, I'm just going to talk a little bit of background about Midwest Old Threshers and how it was started and how Steam Powerhouse was established. So Old Threshers was started in 1950 by a group of men that were traveling back from a show here in Illinois of showcasing agricultural equipment, steam power, things like that. And this map shows the size of the property in the late 1960s. And the antique machinery building there at the sort of the middle of the map is where the eventual establishment of the exhibit would take place. And this is the map of the grounds as of 2 years ago. It's much bigger and there's a lot of different things to see, all within rural, agricultural, industrial life. There's a printing press exhibit, electric trolley cars, narrow gauge railway. So in 1966, the establishment of our exhibit took place once they built the building, and they acquired this engine as the first engine, and it was run with a traction engine boiler for the first couple of years. And after that, they just slowly gathered more, mainly out of the steam engine focus than an industrial interest or anything such as that. But over time, we have acquired a whole bunch of different engines throughout the years. Most of them are all operational. We knew what most of them did. Most of these stories have been passed down through word of mouth and not documented very well because most of the volunteers at our event are not traditional historians. A lot of them come from industrial backgrounds in this particular instance. Our head volunteer works at Tate and Lyle in Decatur, Illinois, where they generate most of their electricity for processing corn to make ethanol. So we have a whole bunch of different engines here, all operating under steam. And then what we do from year to year to get everything ready to operate, we have to clean off rock dust because our shed is also used to store traction engines and tractors and things like that, so they can't have a finished floor, so all of our equipment in our display gets dusty. So we have to clean everything off. We use paint thinner, sadly, and that removes all the rock dust and takes off any grease that we use to prevent rust. And we go back over and wipe it down again to get the residue of the paint thinner off almost immediately. And once we do that, we start looking over things from year to year to make sure there's no maintenance that needs to take place. And most of the time, it's just general, okay, everything's sat for a year. It needs to get ready to run sort of maintenance, so general lubrication, putting some things back together that we winterize. So here is a picture of an engine after we've dusted it off and got all the dust and things on. I'm pretty sure that bottle in that photo has a little bit of Dawn dish soap in it, to be honest. I'm not sure. So here's the engine I'm getting ready to talk about, the main feature of the presentation. 2010. It's an Allis Chalmers water pumping engine. It was used in Marshalltown, Iowa, and it was built in 1922. It was used there continuously until 1952, when it went on standby service until 1972, when the gentlemen from Old Threshers found it and were interested in acquiring it for their collection. The two electric pumps in front of it, from what I've been told, are what replaced the steam engines. And they went over there and they just took a whole bunch of photographs of it, all different angles, and figured out how big it was, and then they started the process of removing it. And how they did this is they would have hired a whole bunch of semi-trucks, about 8 semis to move it, and trains were all donated by a gentleman that was interested in saving this equipment. So here they are getting ready to move the main piece of the engine out. That's one continuous piece of cast iron. Here they are moving it out of the building. And here it is in a pile sitting outside the building that it was originally in. And the building has sadly since been torn down, but they had to take measurements of the foundation. And once they did that, they moved the engine to Midwest Old Threshers, and then they built the building over the top of it. Because the engine would have been too big to move into an already existing building, so they added on about 100 feet or so onto the end of the building, established this engine onto the new foundation. And since then, this is what it looks like today. That photo was taken in 2016. And all the photographs that you've seen are scanned from that white frame in that photo, and they were all taken on April 25th-ish of 1972. And a few of them have been lost to water damage, sadly, so I took it upon myself to scan them, mostly for the talk today, as well as to make a new display of the photos to show what these gentlemen did to save the engine. When they saved it, they found it in 1972, and it got fully erected by about 1973, and it's run ever since for about 5 days. So to get this thing ready to run every year, it takes about a day or so to walk it all over and make sure there's nothing that's happened throughout the winter when nobody's been around and things like that. So they start applying steam and heat it up and get it all hot and happy, because the hotter you are, the happier you are as a steam engine. And once that's done, they start it up for a couple hours the day before the event starts, and run it and get it all lubricated, and then it's ready to go, and they run it for 5 days, and then they winterize it at the end. So when we all get ready to leave at the end of the event, we also winterize all of our equipment, because there's no sort of heating or cooling in this building. It's just open to whatever happens outside. So we hook up a small air compressor to our steam line and run almost everything on air besides this particular engine, because we don't have enough air to do it. And that gets any condensation out of our steam lines and out of the engines themselves. And I tried something new this year with all of our shiny metal parts all over everything. We normally paint a little bit of oil on it to try to do as much as we can to prevent rust. And you can only do so much with that. And one of the guys and I were talking, and we decided to try to use saran wrap. So we painted the oil on like we normally do and put the saran wrap over the top. And that did a lot to prevent rusting, because this building's open to all the humidity changes that are normal here in the Midwest, and you'll walk in there in the summertime and everything will just be sweating with condensation all over it. So that's about all I have about this engine and the exhibit at Old Threshers. If you'd like to come see us, we operate 5 days in Labor Day weekend, Thursday through Monday. And the 2019 event is August 29th through September 2. And if you come out, be sure to look for me and come say hi. So, thank you.